Hi, Ben Darby here from Darby and Darby Solicitors, and welcome to my probate jargon buster and vlog. Now, none of us imagine ever losing a loved one, let alone planning for such an eventuality. And as a result, when that dreadful day happens, when you do lose someone that's close to you, then you find yourself in a world that seems quite unfamiliar. You find yourself having to deal with probate. Now, probate is a word that gets thrown around and used quite a lot, and understandably, people know very little about it until they're involved in it. So the purpose of this video is to take you through some of the common terms you will hear, and later this week I'll be doing a Q&A on any questions that people have around probate and the process. So I'm going to take you through a few words and terms. The first one I'm going to deal with is the word itself. That's probate. So probate can mean two things really. You'll hear people say, have you got probate? Talking about the thing. And other people will say, I'm going through probate, as if it's an action. And in fact, it is both things. Probate, the thing, effectively, is a court order. It's a court order given to the personal persons who have satisfied the court that they are entitled to deal with the estate. I'll cover estate in a minute. The estate of a deceased person, someone who has died. It's effectively a rubber stamp, a court order that confirms to the rest of the world that this person is lawfully entitled to do this. And that's the thing. It's actually a grant of probate, and it's a document. It's a document. It's a piece of A4 paper that says probate at the top of it. The process is, people often call the process getting probate as well, and going through probate, because there's a whole administration, there's a whole process that occurs to get to that point where you get that thing. At the end, you get that grant. Now, probate is a court order that is available to executors. I'll cover executors in a minute, but executors are normally appointed in the will. If you're not an executor and you're looking after someone's estate, particularly if they don't have a will, that is something that's called an intestacy. So intestacy is effectively a person's affairs when they've died, when they don't have a will. Now, you can still apply to the court to deal with that person's affairs if you're entitled, maybe a spouse or a child of the person who's died, but you don't get what they call probate. You get a document that's called letters of administration. So the other phrase there you'll hear is letters of administration. It has the same power and effect as probate. It lets you deal with the estate of the deceased. Now, estate is a word I've used twice already, I think, in this video. The estate, I think most people probably understand what this means, but an estate effectively is everything you own, whether it be buildings, land, cars, jewellery, cash at the bank, property overseas. That's your estate. It's your collection of everything you own at the point at which you die. And you will hear people dealing with the administration of an estate. So that's the winding up and the collecting in of everything within an estate. Now, a phrase you may hear again as well when dealing with someone's estate, dealing with probate or letters of administration, is the grant. The grant is effectively the court order. That's the probate or the letter of administration, but the word grant covers both. Now, I mentioned a moment ago about a grant of probate being available to executors. An executor is someone who is appointed in a will. So an executor is the title given to the personal persons who have been selected by the person who died in their will to deal with the administration of the estate. They've been appointed executors by the deceased person. You can only be an executor if you're appointed in a will or a codicil. I'll cover both those in a minute. If there is no will, then there are no executors. There are administrators instead, and they will deal with the intestacy. Wills and codicils. Now, a will, I think we probably all know what a will is. It's a document that is written dealing with your estate. When you die, you have to write it in your lifetime. It has to be signed by you in the presence of two witnesses, and has to declare that it's your will and it intends to deal with your estate. A codicil, some people call it codicil. Codicil is a document. It's like a an extra document that can attach to a will. It doesn't get rid of the will, but it adds something to it in the event of you wanting to change something later. People that appear in wills and codicils are the executors, which I've already covered. Someone else you will hear the phrase referred to is beneficiary. A beneficiary, think of this as someone who's receiving a benefit. So a beneficiary in a will is somebody who's receiving something under the will, whether it be jewellery, cash, gift of an item, or even a share of the residue, which brings me on to the next word, which is residue. Now, residue, you hear the word residue or residuary estate, is effectively the pot that is left at the end. So if someone has left the residue of an estate, then there's the pot of money or assets or property or land that's left when the executors or administrators have dealt with the estate, and that pot then goes into the residue and all the debts being paid out, and that can be left to a residuary beneficiary. Towards the end of the winding up of an estate, you'll find estate accounts are prepared, and those estate accounts will include in them all the assets and liabilities. Assets and liabilities, they are phrases that are used in our common language. You probably understand what they are. Assets are things that you own of value. That could be land, property, jewellery, cars, cash. And liabilities are debts that you owe in the case of an estate at the date of your death. And that could be everything from a mortgage through to a funeral account, through to credit card bills, gas bills, electricity bills, mobile phone bills, Sky subscriptions, whatever it may be. But at the end of the administration of the estate, you will see a set of estate accounts. There'll be a set of assets, there'll be a schedule of assets, a schedule of liabilities, and including with other things as well. If you see an abbreviated term that says IHT, that is short for inheritance tax. And if the estate is due to pay inheritance tax, that will also appear in those estate accounts. That is a quick summary of some, I think, 10 or 12 words you may hear during the administration of the estate or in and around probate. It is literally scratching the surface. This is a massive topic, and it is very old English law, which means some of the terminology can get very confusing. Indeed, the process can be very, very involved. I will be doing a Q&A session this Thursday evening, which is the 9th of July at 6 p.m. on Facebook Live. Please join me and send any questions in advance or ask us questions live during the sessions, and I will endeavour to answer them. Thank you.